Welcome to Nightmares Before Bed, a supernatural podcast where each show will explore dark and mysterious places, eerie creatures, and all things spooky and creepy. And speaking of spooky and creepy, please help me welcome your hosts Jonathan Rosen and Troy Cannon.
Hello and welcome to Nightmares Before Bed. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon. And today I'm going to give it over to Troy because today we've talked about a few times that we didn't know this legend or we didn't know this one before we started studying into this. You picked this one, and I've heard of this one. I think a lot of people have heard of this one. This one is a creepy one to me. I've seen many documentaries on it. I've read about this a lot, and it's such a bizarre story, but I'm going to let you introduce it. It was you who picked this one, so take it away.
This one is the Winchester Mystery House. And this one has intrigued me for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons, it is the largest supposed haunted house on the entirety of the planet. There is no haunted house that is larger. There are haunted cemeteries that are larger. There are haunted arenas. There are haunted places that are bigger, but this is the largest haunted house on the entirety of the planet. That's one thing. The second thing to me that's intriguing about this house is I am deep into pop culture, mostly comic books, but movies and the like also. And when I heard the story about this, it put me in mind almost immediately of two other stories. The story on this one is there's a shirt manufacturer, Winchester. He manufactured shirts.
But why don't you give before you go into all this stuff, why don't you give the background of the house?
The background of the house, the wife.
Winchester. Who's Winchester? Winchester was the guy that did the rifles. The Winchester rifles.
Well, he did the rifles.
Yes.
But before that, he did shirts. But
yes.
The rifle guy, he is the man that created the Winchester rifle, the quote-unquote gun that won the West.
Right.
This gun was responsible for more deaths than possibly, except for large explosives, like the nuclear bomb or whatever. This put into the hand of one single person the ability to cause more death at that time than any other weapon.
It
could
changed the whole look and feel and capabilities of what a weapon at that time could do.
It did, because you still had people firing one round down range, one bullet at you, and then that was it. And then they fired a bullet back, and then you fired a bullet at them.
Yes.
And sometimes, you could grab your hip and fire a 6-shooter. But this weapon was able to fire 15 shots, which was unheard of. That was more than emptying both your, you would have had to have had 3 arms to fire all of the bullets.
And from a greater distance, right.
And from a greater distance. And this particular weapon caused so much death that when the wife of Winchester, Sarah, decided, we need to move to California, like Stanley House. We need to move to a different area because of my, deteriorating health. She moved. When she moved to the new area, she built a home, 24,000 square feet, I believe it was. And the rifle had caused so many deaths that she started telling her friends and neighbors that she believed that some of those people were starting to visit her. She was getting visits from the ghosts of some of the dead. And so she built this home, and one of 3 things. One, she just went nuts, and she was building corridors that led nowhere and steps that if you took the final
that's to
step,
fool the ghosts.
It was to fool the ghosts. That was the second thing, to trick the ghosts. And the third thing was that the ghost had whispered in her ear and told her, some benevolent ghost, the ghosts are going to kill you when you complete your home. So she tried to never complete it and just added bunch of ridiculous things in order to keep going on this house. This house is a house of mazes.
Right.
There are corridors that lead nowhere. There are
Nowhere.
corridors.
You have to see
You
the
open the
diagrams of
door.
this. You,
It's bizarre. It's like Willy Wonka's Magic
yes.
Factory, but done by an even crazier person than Willy
Hmm.
Wonka.
But here's the thing. Now, we've talked about this on other shows. It's the whole concept of this is always like mind-boggling to me. You have the ghosts that come visiting because she's responsible. We've talked about this. Can ghosts leave? If someone's killed, the legend that we've talked about ghosts is the ghost is stuck there in that spot or in somewhere that they're familiar with. So like, I could be, you or I could be killed out in the mall, but we're not going to haunt the mall. Maybe we'll come back and haunt our our homes because we're familiar with it. Here, the ghosts are not going to where they were killed. They're not going to their own homes. They're going to the person that they deem responsible for their death. So they're going to a place that they've never been before, they've never heard of before, but that's where we're going. So it's such a bizarre concept to start with over here. And so they're going to the Winchester house. And like you said, I watch documentaries on it, and it's just fascinating. It is such a bizarre house because we've seen the pictures, and you're going to have to, insert some of these graphics in here. But the steps leading into nothing. It goes up a staircase, and there's nothing there. It doesn't go anywhere. Like you said, it's just so mind-boggling that it's weird. It's just such a weird thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're gonna see. She spent this money. She spent her inheritance from the rifles
Yeah.
was about $20 million. She spent a quarter of that on this house. She
And
spent
20 million back then
5.5
is
million.
like a hell of a lot more than 20 million. Is a lot now, but back then,
Well, back then it was a lot because the 5 million that she spent would have equated to 70 million
right.
today. So
Yep.
the like 200 plus $1 million that she would have inherited, and she blew a lot of it on this house. It had 160 rooms, and it had 10,000 windows, had 2,000 doors, 47 separate stairwells, 17 chimneys. I mean, how cold are you in the house that you need 17? You might as well set the house on fire. 17 chimneys. It had 13 bathrooms. And I'm thinking, what were they drinking back then? They needed 13 different bathrooms. I mean, the house was big.
There's not that many people in the house. There weren't that many people.
It was just her and like a couple of servants, as far as I know. And
yeah,
it reminds me of a movie because, like the ghost, you were saying about the ghost. So you have traditional ghosts that haunt something. They haunt a necklace, a person, a place, a building, or whatever, and they're pretty much stuck on that thing. Then you have poltergeists who can levitate stuff, lift stuff up,
right.
pick stuff up, move stuff around. Then you have vengeful spirits, and a vengeful spirit will pack a bag and follow you wherever you go because they're allowed to do whatever they need to do to extract that amount of vengeance that they believe they're owed. So if you figure how many people died because of this rifle,
right.
I mean, it was the World War I, it was the Civil War, the American. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just memorizing this from history. I've actually got it written down. I'm reading the script. The Franco-Russian War, the Russo-Turkish War, the siege of Palanva. I don't even know what that is. Certain lawmen had the gun, the indigenous people, French settlers, and it was sold all across European countries. So every person that had that gun that used it to unalive another person, that person may have become a vengeful spirit. He may be a ghost and he's just hanging out in that spot. But for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who became unalived by that guy's invention, some of them are potentially hanging out, looking for revenge.
Have you heard that story? Have you heard things like this before about going to a place you had nothing to do with them in your life, and you're going to go I'm telling you now, first of all, if anything happens to me, there are a couple, two, three people that I'm going to annoy the hell out of. I don't even see them in my life right now. I'm going to go haunt them because I don't like them. There are people that I am going to mess with. Right now, I'm just
Yes.
stating it out there. So I'm just, be careful. If anything happens to me, those two people might know who they are. I'm coming for you. That's it.
Well, you know what? If I become a ghost, I hate to say this out loud, but there's two or three people
Yes.
that I'm probably gonna go and I'm gonna like be pushing glasses over in the house and stacking chairs and stuff, and then I would probably hang out with the Swedish bathing suit team, just check that place out, just
just,
to see what's
just
going
hang
on
out
there,
there.
just to hang out. But yeah, I mean, if I could unleash my ghost powers,
Well, let's not do
they
this
would
so
know
fast because
about
that does mean that we have to die. Let's not you rush toward that. But let's say if it happens, I'm coming for a couple of people. So, so let's get back to the Winchester thing now. So again, it's we talked about the bizarre house. I'm still stuck on this going to the places, and there are still boats that are said to be there now. There's still the place is haunted now. This is not just you know from then. There's servant ghosts that are seen now. Is that what we read?
Yeah, I read that there are a multitude of servants that are
Right.
still there, and there's one, the dancing ghost, and she compelled a reporter that was there to dance. The ghost came in the room and was dancing, and she said she could feel the presence of the ghost, and somehow she knew that it was dancing, and she was compelled to dance with it. And she reported that there are a bunch of people that say that there's a guy, I want to say they called him Wheelbarrow Willie, Wheelbarrow
I think
Hank, or something like that. And he walks around with a wheelbarrow. He was one of the maintenance men, and he hangs out. The
I saw
wheelbarrow ghost, I think
Clyde.
they
Was there
called
a
him.
Willie? I saw Clyde.
Was it Clyde?
I think there was a
Wheelbarrow
Clyde.
Clyde.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's a maintenance guy
Right.
who I'm assuming they say if you die suddenly, then your spirit doesn't know you're dead and it tries to continue to do things
Yeah.
that, like,
Chores.
what was that? Was it seven? Seven, I think, with Bruce Willis, where he dies.
Oh
And
yes. What can I think of it?
Seven Cents, the
Yes.
Seven Cents.
Six Sense.
He
Six
was
Sense.
shot, but he was a psychiatrist and he was trying to build things with his wife. So he died instantly with that gunshot. He didn't know he was dead. Through the movie, he's still trying to live his life, not knowing he's a ghost. The little kid knew he was a ghost, but through the movie, as watchers, we're watching the movie thinking, wow, he's trying to help these people. And then at the end, the
Right.
reveal is he was a ghost too. So Willie or Clyde probably had one of those instant deaths, doesn't know he's dead, and he's still trying to continue doing things that he would normally do throughout his life. So that's got to be terrible.
Well, it said that the workers feel like tugs on their shirts, and like they've seen him, like guests have seen him, and they commented and like said, oh, there was no one there at that time. But,
It's a lot, and to get back to this, as bad as the house is, and as weird as the house is, my thought was, what caused this? And I
right.
keep going back to that guy with the gun, the Winchester, and all the spirits he brought in, and it makes me think about Spawn. In the comic book, in the movie, the TV show, Spawn is a dude that dies, and the underworld is like, we need that guy. He is personally responsible for killing more people than anybody. So we need him. And they recruit him, they bring him, they make him a spawn. And then you've got Colonel Hawthorne from the movie The Prophecy with Walker, Christopher Walker,
Walking,
Christopher Walker.
walking.
And in that movie, Hawthorne was responsible in their universe. He was responsible personally for killing more people. So the angels wanted to recruit him in their war against the devil because they're like, he knows how to kill people better than anybody. So we need him. So I'm thinking, with that kind of mentality, is it possible that the underworld is like, you know what? Somebody who's responsible for killing that many people, we need to get in contact with him. Somebody will ring his doorbell.
Hmm.
So He was a shirt manufacturer. And then he just woke up one day and was like, you know what?
Make
I got
guns.
an idea for a gun. And he made a gun. He made, like, for that era, he made the perfect gun. So what happened that he was manufacturing shirts and then boom, he just made this weapon of destruction. And then people started, from the other side, possibly coveting him, hanging out with his wife, looking for his wife. And she went nuts. It's like, I got to get these
Right.
ghosts away from me. Let me make these corridors, these wacky turns and stuff. In my mind, I'm trying to follow, what could have possibly happened if all of this is true. Regular guy makes an incredibly dangerous weapon, kills a ton of people. All of a sudden, his wife, directly after that, his wife is being tormented by ghosts, and she's doing these really weird, wacky things to potentially, possibly because the ghosts are telling her, possibly because she's trying to trick the ghosts. There's so many of them floating around her. And I'm thinking, yeah, that kind of sucks. So both of them, the husband and the wife, are probably, maybe up, maybe down. I don't know where they're at, but they're someplace
But
manufacturing a new ghostly weapon.
but that's well. First of all, I mean, the gun, the rifle thing, came along at the perfect time for him. There was all the exploring of, like you mentioned before, exploring of the West, conquering of new territories. So it was a perfect time for that to come about. And then plus all the wars that you know happened afterwards. But it's one of the funny thing is that I've not read tales. Have you about the ghosts of the Winchesters? I don't know if they're she one of the ghosts. He's not. I don't think I've seen anything about him haunting anything. Have you seen anything of him or her at all in any of the tales?
She supposedly is in the house. I haven't read anything about him being in the house. So she supposedly is
He's
one of
there.
the ghosts that you would see. When they were doing the landscaping, or not the landscaping, but when they were checking out the house so that they could prepare it to be sold, it was sold for nickels on the dollar. I mean, it's a
Incredible.
haunted house. So it was sold really, really cheap. But when they were doing surveying the house and everything, supposedly one of the photographers took a picture of the building and actually captured her in the window. I
Mm,
read that because I go to the YouTube stuff, I read stuff
right.
back and forth. I watched William Shatner. I got as much info as I could get, and then, but I haven't looked for that picture yet. They say that that picture exists, so I want to see if I can find that picture.
But
If I
they're
find
all
it, it's probably showing up right
no,
here.
but yes, good. This is the spot. So it's you mentioned something right. This we mentioned the staircases, the corridors. There are secret passages that they found. Like I'm wondering still, but as I was reading all the stuff on it, if they've even found all the things in there because it's such there are so many different like nooks and crannies in this house.
So, supposedly, I looked at a documentary where a guy said that the house is supposed to be over 100 years old.
Right.
It took like 33 years to build it, and even though they've been in the house, because 10 years after the house was made, it was people were going inside the house to check it out. She died
Yeah.
after it was completed, and he said after it was made, so almost 100 years, we've been in and out of the house, and we're still finding hidden
Yeah.
corridors and hidden rooms. I mean, entire rooms that they didn't know was there, and they're still finding stuff. So
That's
it's
amazing to
amazing.
me that after all this time that it's still possible that the things that they haven't found yet. There are things. It's incredible. So it makes you wonder what we might find in there, what things can be possibly hidden in there that no one knows about too. And you just again, the mindset, something snapped inside this woman. But what made this woman snap to do that? And so if she felt haunted at the time, that she went to all this trouble to fool the ghosts, what happened to her at this time that made her do this? That's the big question. Was it someone physically came after her? Was it spirits? What happened to this woman that her mind just went snap?
Yeah, it got turned completely to jello. I mean, and I looked it up. She didn't have any like mental disorder or anything. She had arthritis. That was it. And And that doesn't make you crazy. So it had to have been an outside force. Either something, completely drove her mad, or she legitimately thinks that she was seeing ghosts and had to try to trick them. And they must have been, if she must have, in order, because she was doing it constantly, changing things.
Right.
And she had two architects come, and she didn't want either one of them messing with the house. She's like, look, I'll do it myself. We'll build a room here. She didn't draw out big plans at first. She was like, put another room here. You know what? A stairway. Put a stairway here.
That's exactly it.
Straight to the
Yes, you're
ceiling.
right.
She was doing that. It's a crazy person.
There's no rhyme or reason. That's exactly how it seems. And it's just like it's spur of the moment that wakes up Wednesday. Hey, you know what? Just put a staircase here, and that's it. It's so bizarre. Everything about it is bizarre. I gotta ask, you've not been here, right? You've not been to this. This is one of the places that you've not been.
This one's I lived in California for a while, but I didn't go there. If I would have known about it, I'd have tried to check it out. But yeah, it's in San Jose, California, I believe it is. But it's in California, so it's on my list now of places I eventually want to check
First
out.
of all, where haven't you lived? Because every time we bring up something, I used to live. So I don't know where you've not lived. Should probably start with that because it's probably less. But but here we go. So this, you and I have spoken about this in other shows and privately too. Okay, for people who talk about these creepy things, I'm one of the ones that I don't know if I love this. I'm fascinated with it. The Winchester house, to me, it was always it has such a creepy vibe, even during the daytime. First of all, I don't even think I'd go there at night. It's so bizarre to me that I can't feel that there's such a dark cloud hanging over this whole building because, either the haunted or that her mind snapped somehow, and this is the result of all of it. So it's so creepy at nighttime. At daytime, I mean. So at nighttime, I can't even see myself going there. There's just no way that I'd be hanging out there. Daytime, maybe it was like surrounded by a lot of people, but the house is so creepy just when you read about it. When you see the pictures inside, it looks like an insane asylum. Someone from the Escape from Insane Asylum designed this place. So I don't know how you would go there for sure. Would you go there at night?
No, there's not very many scary places, creepy or otherwise, that I would go at night. I would not risk it, but I would go there. And it's one of two things. It's either a gigantic house built by someone utterly insane,
Mm-hmm.
or it's a gigantic house built by a woman that was haunted. So it's either a haunted house or, like you said, a gigantic insane asylum. So it just didn't have any inmates, but it's an
And one
insane
inmate,
asylum.
but she didn't.
One inmate.
One
Yeah.
inmate. So
There's a stairwell that you go up two flights of stairs.
yeah.
And if you just continue to walk, you would fall down
Right.
the two
Yes.
flights of stairs. There's nothing there. So I wouldn't go at night because I know I'd break my ankle or, bump into a ghost. And, you can't explain to them that you're not the guy. Hey, I'm just visiting. They don't care about that. You're there. You're getting got. It's
I'm
only
still
$45.
Yeah, no, I'm still stuck on the secret passages that they found some, and I keep thinking that there's something else there. If they've not found all the things that possible, I that's what my mind keeps coming back to. What might be hidden there? And besides the thing, what caused this woman to snap to begin with?
Ghosts.
Yes.
They found a chest or a case or something like that, and they examined it. It was a lock of her hair, her husband's hair, and their daughter's hair. The daughter only lived for 1 month.
Right.
She had a disease. I can't remember what the disease was, but they had a daughter that lived for 1 month, and she passed in 1 month, and the mother shaved her head for some. I guess they did that back then. She was probably crazy. That sounds crazy to me.
Yes. I think it's the daughter was in the house, right? The daughter was in the house
Yeah,
already.
she was born in a house. Yeah, and she passed a month after birth, and the mother decided, yeah, I'm going to take her hair. And I'm like,
This house
what?
has too many things. I don't know. To me, and it's weird. This is creepier than the Stanley Hotel that we did. This, to me, I don't know if you think that, but to me, this is creepier than the Stanley. I've read the things on the Stanley. You were there, and I've not been there, but just the way that this was done, because of the legends of ghosts, and that it was done by someone who does not seem right in the head, that designed all this, and it seems like someone's like fevered, dream, someone who went mad doing all this. Because of that, this is a creepier story to me than the Stanley.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, she went in. Let's say she saw a ghost. She saw a ghost, and she's like, "Oh, a ghost." She didn't call for a medium. She didn't call for their quote unquote Ghostbusters of the day or
Well,
anything like
Houdini
that.
was there.
Houdini lived there. He did a seance,
Right.
and that's wacky. That
Right.
by itself would make me not go there. I'm like, who did it? Houdini? Nah. He's way too close to the occult for me to mess around. He might as well be Doctor Strange. I'm not going there. But for her to for years to say, you know what, I better put another stairway in here.
Right.
You know what, we need more windows. And every single room, 160 rooms, every single room has the motif of the number 13. It's in the room one way or another, 13 mirrors or 13 designs or 13 pictures. She was obsessed with the number 13. She put it in every single room, 160 rooms. That means that she had to come up with a lot of different ways to put that number in the room. And they find it in every single room. And there's hidden rooms. So she probably did it more than they even know about. So she was possessed, or she was crazy, or
I wonder if there's some corpses or something in some secret lair somewhere, some secret room that they still have not found. So it's like I said, this is a creepy house to me. This is creepier than a lot of the things that I'm not sure. I think the Japanese forest is creepier, but out of like physical, establishments, I think this is the creepiest one to me personally that we've done so far.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got it. I think we covered it. So let us know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Have you been there? What if we missed any stories? Would you go there at night? And just anything that you want to think of with the Winchester, because this one does creep me out.
Yeah,
so
it's a horror show.
Yes. Well, again, this has been Nightmares Before Bed. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Troy Cannon, and again, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Thank you for watching Nightmares Before Bed. And now, it's time to shut the lights, close your eyes, and go to sleep, if you can.